I remember the days I was praying for what I have today. The legacy question is, I would love to have my family know how much I love them, and I would love to bless as many people as we possibly can.
Welcome to the show. Today, I am honored to sit down with a leader, Ken Diehl, who's with us. And he's not only helped shape and work in the grocery industry for several decades, but he's also done a lot with vision, discipline, and an amazing heart. He's held executive roles with some major brands out there that many of you would know. I'm not going to name them all, but you've led multi-million-dollar divisions, navigated some turnarounds, I understand, and brought strategic insight to different firms. And now you have Die Capital that you're a part of. But I just want to welcome you here. And that, by the way, Die Capital is managing portfolio companies. And if that's not enough, you also a military veteran. He loves Chicago sports.
Very much.
I'm assuming you love Chicago beef.
I do.
So you guys know I'm a Philly guy, but we connected through our good buddy Chris. So Chris, thank you for connecting us. But was so funny because as he even told, you learn a lot about a person, not just from what they say, but from what other people say.
Fair.
And so you got some fans out there, Ken. You got some people that believe in you, and I know you're excited. And you're also married, and I know you have kids, and you have grandkids. You look too young to have grandkids, bro.
Oh, thank you for lying. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it's the lighting. No, but I'm really glad to have you here today. And I mentioned that you have a capital fund or portfolio management funds that you're doing right now. But tell me a little bit about, you've done all these big things. We're going to get into that. But where did it start? Where are you from? How'd you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Sure. Born and raised in Gary, Indiana. So, lived not far from Michael Jackson when he was growing up as well. So I'm a little bit younger than he is. But obviously they were very famous, and we all kind of followed them when I was a little guy. Lived there until, just before my high school years. Moved out to Mesa, Arizona, and went to high school in Mesa. Went to college on an academic scholarship sponsored by then Congressman John McCain, now Senator John, or wound up being Senator John McCain and running for president. The rest of life started as a bag boy in the grocery industry, and then worked my way up to being a CEO in the grocery industry, and from there moved into capital ventures and stuff like that. So
that's incredible. So the first job, you were just a bag boy.
Bag boy.
And that was just so everybody knows. They didn't have plastic. We had real bags.
Real bags. And they were heavy.
They were heavy. You like literally there was a double bagging system for a reason.
True.
But so you started there. So what was as you were working there, did you have a dream when you were younger?
Yeah, honestly, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I definitely didn't think I wanted to remain in the grocery industry. And wound up, as a bag boy, I enjoyed it, made a lot of great friends, and, worked my way up to kind of an entry-level stocker. And then my father was injured, kind of had a tragic injury. And my brother dropped out of college, and I dropped out of college, and we both joined the military, and we started sending money home to take care of the family.
Oh, okay.
And both had successful military careers. And then when we got back out, we went right back to work. My brother wound up getting a engineering degree, and also got a master's in mathematics. And I went hardcore into just double shifts and stuff like that, and working my way up into the grocery industry. Started having kids very young.
Right.
And I was that guy that just ran around the grocery stores after my shift saying, "Can I take yours?"
Wow. Yeah. So, got to get that paper. Got to get that money.
Got to get that paper.
Them kids, they get hungry. Yeah. They change everything. I used to say, man, for any kids that are watching this, which I doubt that are any. Well, Jacob, you're kind of like a kid to us, but it's like, I used to be cool and have lots of money, and then you have kids. Yeah. I joke, but it's partially true. But you work really hard. But that's part of in that season of life, and you're trying to figure things out, and you do what you have to do. And that generation, I'm from that similar generation, and it's like, people just did jobs, multiple jobs. You just did stuff. And the irony of that was that that's how I got into the food business. I was in culinary school, then I learned how to cut meat, and then a buddy was like, hey, sometimes they hire people at Acme markets. And he said, hey, I was doing all prepared foods. I was doing a whole bunch of chef stuff for this gourmet butcher shop in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And this was early on. People weren't doing that. Like cryovac, vacuum sealed, with instructions on how to cook. It was marinated or stuffed. And the whole idea was that you could take it home and cook it maybe in 45 minutes or less. But you were actually doing something with it. And then I'm in this little store in Haddonfield, New Jersey, which is one of the oldest stores in that whole family of stores. The walk-in boxes were wooden, had a giant wooden door. And I find out the president of Acme is coming through. They were at the Voorhees store, and the manager comes back and he goes, listen, I know you're just covering today, because I would just cover a day at a time. Wherever they needed me, just if I was available, I was earning extra money. So I was there, and he goes, make the case look as nice as possible, like whatever you need to do. And I was like, okay, well, I'm a chef. I actually work for a gourmet butcher shop. We do all kinds of stuff. Would you be cool? He's like, do whatever you have to do. Take it off the shelf. I don't care. So I just put some stuff together. We threw it in the case. I made up pricing and stuff like that. And then sure enough, they came through. Then they came to the back and they were like, hey, he's like, did you do this? And I said, yeah. They said, that's really cool. We're trying to move in this direction. So you're a chef? I said, yeah. So they said, hey, and the president was there, and they had this little team of people and a lot of people with clipboards. Some of you don't remember clipboards. It's actually
we remember them well.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm pretty familiar with what you're about to tell me too.
So and then and it's funny because I'm a kid, like I'm just working to make money. I'm trying to earn money and just keep myself going, and so that within a week, I go up to Malvern, PA. They're like, I get a call from the head of I don't know who it was, but anyway, I go up and they're like, hey, and I bring my binder full of recipes. And they're like, hey, come on up. So had a really good talk, explained why I did, made up all these recipes, marinated stuff, all this kind of stuff. And I just talked about the store that we've been doing for 2 years before that. And it's just almost like ground level stuff of like, yeah, this is what works, this is what didn't work, this is why we do it this way, this is why this and that and this and that. So they're like, hey, we really like you, man. It's just really good. You could actually, why don't you come on board? We're working on this division. We don't know what it's going to look like or whatever they called it. But they said, hey, if you want to come on board, but here's the deal. You got to just go into management training, and this way you'll learn the store, because I had no idea how that worked. And they said, as it evolves, you'll have a place.
Sure.
So I was like, that sounds good, And so I go back, prayed about it, but I had to work on Sundays, and I was really involved in church. And I knew that was my path, was being a pastor. My dad was pastoring at the time, so I'm really involved. I can't not be there.
Sure.
I mean, I could, but I didn't feel that was the right thing. So I said, hey guys, I can't do that right now, but I'm really thankful for it. And then, anyway, I just didn't do it because of that. And there was no way, they couldn't give me a time frame because they didn't know yet. So anyway, and then we met at a barbecue, we're talking. So
did.
Go ahead. So
I actually know the president really well. His name was Carl Jablonski at the time. Yeah, and that program that you did the recipes on wound up being a huge program at Albertsons, and it was called QFI, which stood for Quick Fix and Ingredients. But we also called it the QFE, which is the quick fix and entrees, because you kind of incorporated how that pork loin, if you will, became a meal, and that became a national-wide program. So, for those of you that don't know, Albertsons owned Acme.
Okay.
And so
did they own them back then, or they acquired them along the way?
It was acquired.
Was it
American
Foods
stores?
Yeah.
American stores.
American stores.
And so we acquired them from, and that program we took from American stores. When we acquired American Stores and made it a national program of over 3,000 stores.
Yeah.
So I met the founder of the QFI, and I didn't know.
That's so crazy. I'm not the founder, but yeah, I was a little bit part of it. And my dad, I'll never forget my dad. My dad's like, where's the binder of recipes? I'm like, well, I just left them there. They were so excited. They're like, can we look at them? And I'm like, sure, you can have it. I have more copies. He's like, why would you leave them there? But the point was, what I love about that, honestly, is that it's cool to work on something that you knew you're going the right path. And it worked out. It just wasn't meant for me to be part of that. But it still was like,
it became a huge path.
It's a big deal. And to this day, even Arnie's, shout out to Arnie's in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and Ocean City, New Jersey, they still do. Some of the same things that we had then are still Chicken Abruzzi. Ken, we were making up names. We were just like, what are we going to call this? Chicken Carolina? We would come up with this stuff, and really it was where everything was going. Which is a kind of an interesting question for you too, because obviously you have a portfolio of companies that you invest in, and they're not small. These are large deals. What is it that you're looking for or looking at when you're choosing to invest in a company or even in industry? What's some of the matrix that you kind of walk through before you make these big decisions?
Well, we look for companies that have a little bit of probably trouble to their P&L, their profit and loss statements, and we try to decide if we believe we can turn those around. We take a lot of industries we're familiar in, and we look at their profit margins at the end of the day where they're at, and then we take what we historically have been able to achieve. And if we see they're struggling, and we could probably take those to higher margin levels and higher profit levels, that becomes very entertaining. That's when we start into the real due diligence of the business. So
Okay, and what industries are you guys in right now?
well, we're in specialty retail, we're in digital marketing, we're in AI storytelling, we're in
Interesting, AI storytelling.
which
Wow.
is really kind of
Okay.
cool. It's really
We'll
kind
have
of
to talk
cool.
about that offline.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
We're in Norwegian salmon seafood, so we import salmon from Poland and Norway, and we are in high interest debt. So we just bought a 50% ownership in a high interest debt company, which is loans to like mobile parks and exotic cars and especially retail, quite frankly. So
Interesting. Okay. So it's not a cash checking place. It's like actually.
no, it's not.
It's
no,
bigger.
It's literally.
I'm teasing you. I'm
no,
teasing.
no, I know,
Yeah,
but
I'm
it's one of those exotic cars. Usually,
Yeah.
they loan at about a rate of about 15%, where a normal
Okay.
car will loan at a 5, 6, 7% rate. So
That's exciting. Well, being here in Scottsdale, there's a lot of those places. out here.
there is.
I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, we live here now, but as far as exotic cars, we have a ton. But we have 300 days of sunlight. The roads are pretty good. But I've never seen so many. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and everything.
I think Miami would be competitive, but that's about it. So
Yeah. No, you're right. So let me ask you a question. Some of the things that I talk about, I had this book coming out, Prince, Why You Were Made for More, that every single person has a fingerprint.
Yeah.
In that identity, it's almost like I don't know about you, God didn't ask me what I wanted to come to the earth with.
Yeah.
Like I just came here,
Yeah.
whatever I have,
That's
that's what I have, right? I have a certain DNA. And that fingerprint stays the same from the time I'm born to the time I die.
Yep.
It's not going to change. And I'm supposed to leave a mark. You're supposed to leave a mark. Everybody's a tenant something. But finding it can be hard for people. And there's different prints, kind of like our print has multiple lines to it. It takes a different form and shape at different seasons of our life. As you were going through some of that transition, coming up the ranks in the food business, because that's where you spend a lot in the grocery area industry, was there ever a time where you really had to take, what's one of the biggest risks you ever had to take that actually turned out well?
Yeah, 100%. So if I'll just go a little bit before the grocery industry, coming back to the grocery industry after the military. I was a young guy overseas, didn't have a lot of direction. I was always a Christian, but I wasn't. I don't want to say I was a practicing Christian overseas, right? And I met my wife, and I just thought she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. I'll get emotional talking about it. But anyways, I won't. I'll be okay. I really thought a lot. I said, wow, I really like this young lady. How we first met, she didn't like me at all. But anyways, I finally got the courage to ask her out on a date after she had got me in trouble in the military for being a rude guy.
Wow.
So
were you a rude guy?
I was. I was a rude guy. I was a rude guy.
It's a safe place. There's no judgment.
Thanks. So I got the courage to ask her out, and she wouldn't go out with me unless our first date was church.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we went to church. True story. 38 years ago, and I sat next to her in church, and I just sat there, and I kept thinking, wow, how do I get connected better? And so I did. And so I met my beautiful wife. We got married. We came home, and then it goes back to, what we were talking about, the early stages of grocery being back. And I'm a stalker. We're now pregnant with our first child. Not making a lot of money back then at all, and just would walk up and down the aisles and pray that somebody would give me their shift. And pray as I was walking, I would do the tax. So non-food in Arizona had an 8% tax. Food had 0 tax. And so as I was filling the grocery cart, I would pray that I had done the math right. And I would budget $110, $115, $120. No embellishment, true story. And I would know exactly where I was right when I got to the register. and you know, the prayers always worked out. They were always answered. And then the risk became, I said, okay, I think I can do more. And so I would just dive in and challenge everybody around me that to work as hard as me, and that created a recognition. But ultimately, if I guess to go back to the question, what the original question is risk. You know, every bit of my early life I felt like was this risk that if I wasn't taking the gambles that I was taking and doing the things that I was doing, which weren't really gambles, they were just answered prayer. But kind of a long answer to a short question. I apologize, but that's
No, but like, I mean, look, faith without action is dead. Faith without work is dead. But faith without action, it's one thing to think something.
Yeah.
There's always an action to follow, and that's risky. It is a risk,
Yeah.
you know, because you're choosing what do you really believe.
yeah.
Actions tend to follow what I really want to do or what
Yeah.
I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
Not the reverse. And so it is hard. I call it like this mirror moment, because a lot of people wake up and they look at themselves in the mirror. There's people watching right now. You're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, my life's pretty good. It's not exactly where I need to be. Man, I wish something was different, but I'm not sure quite how to get to the next thing. I know I'm made for more. I know there's something else for me. And I call it like, again, this mirror moment where people have to challenge themselves. And sometimes some people, it's hard to believe for more. Even though it's one thing for me to believe in you, it's a totally different thing for you to believe in you.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's just really, really difficult. But life is a risk. Being born is a risk.
Yeah.
Living life, it's all a risk. And it's impossible to grow ahead without taking some. I mean, obviously, what you do, you invest in companies. That's a risk.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. So you made that shift, and you just kept working hard. What would you say, looking at your career, was maybe one of the biggest break moments for you?
Albertsons, you know, wound up opening a division in Tucson, Arizona, and I was in Mesa, and basically, you know, all my family was in Mesa. I had 3 children. We were pregnant with our 4th, and Albertsons asked me if I would move down to Tucson to help start this new portion of the division, if you will. And you know, Maggie and I talked about it, and we prayed about it, and we went south.
Right.
And it was game changer because it was brand new. It was a new area that they really needed to be successful because there was a lot of investment.
Right.
And we did a really good job and made it really successful. And that led to kind of growth within the grocery industry. And then that led to them asking me to kind of project manage later on in 2006. Albertsons, owned by SuperValue at the time, sold off what they called the non-core assets, so the unprofitable areas of the
Like
country.
underperforming, and they just,
Exactly. And Cerberus Capital Management bought those stores. And Justin Dye Capital now,
Okay, yeah.
was the Cerberus Chief Strategy Officer, and I got kind of pulled in to be his project lead. And so in 2006, I'm helping project lead now, us buying 200 stores. And we 6 consecutive years, we grew sales, earnings, and profit, and market share.
Wow.
And then we wound up buying back the other 3,000 stores.
No way. So not
Yeah.
only just a little turnaround.
No, it was really cool.
Wow. No, is that something you're drawn to, you think?
Very much so.
Clearly, obviously, the way you identified some of the capital stuff you're doing, and like you like a turnaround.
I very much so. I have such faith in people. Talent surrounds herself with talent. I'm a firm believer talent surrounds herself with talent.
That's a good one. All right. Talent surround itself with talent. That's good. That's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm such a firm believer in people. And if you can get people to believe in themselves and their talents and their abilities, amazing things can happen. I mean, amazing things can happen. And I've been blessed to work with just a bunch of great people. And so
that's a good lead in to one of my next questions, because life is about people. Everybody's in the people business. Now, some people don't like people. They struggle with people. I get it. And everybody's outgoing. I'm more outgoing. But at the end of the day, we're still in the people business, right? Whether it's vendors, clients, employees, we're in the people business. What have you learned maybe from when you started? Because you mentioned this about were you just like a hard guy at times? Is that what you were saying? I mean,
I was a dummy.
oh, you're done.
I was a dummy.
So like, what are some of those leadership evolutions that you've taken over the years that you've learned to be like, man, if I'm going to lead an effective team, these are the things I really didn't do well, but I really learned to do better.
I've been so blessed, and I mean this genuinely, to work and be taught by so many wonderful. There has never been a position I've ever had in my life, going back from, when I started in the military, and in boot camp, I had Senior Chief Mark Smith was his name. I'll bet you he doesn't know this 60-year-old man remembers his name and the impact he had. But I just watched him, and he was the epitome of what I needed at that time. He was the epitome of discipline. He was the epitome of leadership, and the type of leadership I needed. And then, I did my time in the military. I had wonderful leaders that every one of them I got to learn from. Then I got out of the military and I went back into grocery, and I had a gentleman named Mike Kerrigan who knew me before I went in. And when I came out, he was like, "Who are you?"
Really?
But then he gave me that great direction. I'm sorry.
It was a big transformation then for you.
Huge transformation.
Was that the best thing, one of the best things you look back on your life you're like so thankful for? Into the military.
I thank God for my time in military, and it came through tragedy. It came through my dad's injuries, and you hear all of that. It's true. In my life, it's true.
Yeah.
Let
me just say this for anybody watching this right now, because there are some people watching. You're going to watch this, and your life isn't really great right now. And maybe you're having to do something you don't really want to do, but you need to go do it because life demands that you do it. There's just God, universe, like something's going on, and you need to go do this. Look, don't be weary in well-doing, the scriptures say, because in due time you reap a harvest. Don't get tired. I know that it's hard, and I know there's times where you're like, I don't think this is fair. I got to go do this. I had another plan. Look, if I looked at I've been several shifts in my life where I thought I had a plan. That was not the plan. And it wasn't the path. But this is a chapter. It's not the whole book. So be encouraged. You do what you have to do, but you don't lose your vision. That's the worst thing I think anybody could ever do is really lose vision for your life. Because I could lose money. I can get money back. I can lose stuff. I can get stuff, like even a house, I could get a car back. But you don't want to lose your vision, because that's the one thing that's carrying you forward. That you don't want to lose hope. You don't want to lose vision, because this is a really amazing world with a lot of opportunities in it. We got a great big God who's put some great talent inside of every single one of us. And even if we're not all of it's being used yet, give it time.
Yep.
So anyway, be encouraged. So that's a big deal, man. And we don't get to pick, I don't get to pick the weather. God's not asking me what I want the weather. Nobody is. We got to deal with whatever it is. We're in here in Arizona. It might be 115.
Yep.
Might be 90. We might have a haboob. We can't control that, but there are things I can control. And part of it, though, just to put a button on that, just to reiterate, storms don't last always.
Yeah.
Trouble doesn't last always. And there is lessons in it, and it's hard. But the world is full of people who persevered. Yeah. And you can persevere too if you're watching this. So, but you were in the military. So tell me about that. What did you end up joining, and what did you do?
I was in the U.S. Navy, but I sailed as a merchant marine, and I was in intelligence. And what now is called crypto is obviously a currency, but back then it was cryptographic material. And so I ciphered and deciphered code, and they had this thing called a CRT, and it was a piece of equipment. And when most people are probably too young to remember this on the call, but Pilot O'Grady went down during the Bosnian War, and he was a pilot for the United States. And it got reported all over the news. They found him, and they found him through this beacon. Well, that beacon was a CRT.
No way. I kind of remember this. Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I did in the military, ciphered and deciphered code, did all of that. And I just enjoyed the heck out of that and enjoyed learning.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, but going back to the tough times don't last, tough people do. We've all heard that. But, what you were talking about, there was a time in my life, probably more than once, where I thought nobody in the world has it any tougher than I do right now, or any harder than I do right now. And I'd probably at the state of being almost depressed, I'd turn to God, and every time He's pulled me out, every time. So
No, I mean, what we're talking about, guys, is not theory. There's a difference between, there's a lot of people that know a lot about the Bible and God, way more than us combined. And they teach it in campuses around the world. It's the difference between knowing and having a connection and a relationship with God. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. There's a God that loves you. He wants to be involved in our life. We're the highest creation. Mankind was the highest creation. You know, he goes through creation, speaks this, speaks that, create this perfect environment, then he puts man there.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't create fish and then create water later.
Yeah.
Doesn't create birds and then he creates everything. And then the last thing, the only thing that he puts his hands on and breathes his breath into is man. Powerful. I say that to say it's so true and in my life too. And the funny thing is it's accessible to everybody. Doesn't matter where. He doesn't even have to go to a specific church. We start with just asking God for help. You know, that when I was just doing a Bible study earlier and talking about cast your cares, your anxiety on him because he cares for us and James. And it's God really loves you. He loves you more than what you realize. And even in those darkest states, it's the perfect opportunity to get close to him. And he'll respond.
I couldn't agree more about that.
Yeah. But thank you for sharing that. You talked about turnarounds. I mean, God's into turnarounds. You know, so many people that we look at in the Bible, they're big time turnarounds in their life. You've done a lot too. Tell me a little bit about how you viewed your position, and even as a believer, like how did you view like your position? Because if we look at people in the Bible, you and I talked about this on the phone a little bit. It's like less than 3% of people are ever going to work for a church. Okay, so we have people that come. We may have thousands of people in church or hundreds of people in church. They come and they leave. Only a few people are going to work full time for a church, and then out of that people, only a few people are going to be on stage and meant to do that. That's not the most important job in the world. If God's given you a life, it's important to live that life to whatever I say success as doing the best that I can with where I am, with what God's given me, and who I'm with. I do the best for that for the day. That's success before me and God. That's it. And there's a reason why he has us here. So looking back over your career, how did that affect you? Like being a Christian and then showing up, and then you excelled. I mean, you did excel to some high places that very few people will ever experience.
Yeah, it's a really good question. As a young up-and-comer, if you will, I cared about the next big thing and best thing. I probably cared way too much about what's the next position, how do I get to the next position, how do I get to the next growth level, how do I get to, from point A to point B the fastest. And then as I got into better level positions, and by the way, not the perfect man, far and away from being the perfect man. Yeah. So some of my former employees will see this and go, yeah, I don't know if I agree.
He was like, you're kind of a jerk sometimes, Ken.
That
could be. I don't know. I don't know anybody, but yeah. But what's good about this is it's honest. And I love the authenticity. There's no real reason, because we're all in process.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's got it all together. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, please. But I wasn't the perfect man by any means or stretch, but I always was striving to be point A to point B. And at some point in my life, I figured out, and it had a lot to do with my pastor, who was Pastor Don Wilson. He was a founder of CCV. And he always used to kind of stand up on the stage and talk about the impact that we can make. And this is probably in the early 2000s. But as I started reaching higher levels, and people would start going, Ken, I want to be where you're at. I want to be your job. How did you do it? That's when I started. The trigger said I can probably impact them more by saying, I did a lot of prayer, than telling about them how I did a double shift.
Right.
Because I don't think the double shift worked as much as the prayer.
Right.
And so I talked a lot about, hey, none of this has come without God.
Right.
And to this day, and this is true, this is not for the podcast, I look in that mirror every morning, and I look every morning in the mirror and say, why me? What have I done, Lord, to deserve everything you've blessed me with? And I have this really good sports memorabilia collection.
Yes,
my
which
house.
you gifted me. So he gifted me something. First time I meet him, he found out I was an Eagles fan and gifted me this cool little helmet, signed autograph. That was so cool. So thank you.
You're very
Which,
welcome.
as a Chicago fan, I was kind of shocked that you had the Eagles thing, but it just shows you got good taste.
Yeah.
No, but no.
That's why I gave it away, because it was an Eagle.
He's like, I've been waiting to get rid of this thing. No, that's funny.
But in all the sports memorabilia room and everything like that, my favorite piece, it looks like, it looks like the Ten Commandments tablet, and it says, "I remember when I prayed. I remember the days I was praying for what I have today." And I didn't stop praying, but it's true. It's true.
That's so good. I remember the days I was praying for what I have today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And look, I'm a big, firm believer in living in a state of gratitude, an idea like I'm just grateful, waking up grateful before I go to bed. I have this routine before I go to bed. I eat a cannoli and some. No, I don't. I go to bed. I do. I have this funny routine. I have a certain song, music I play. I get myself like I don't generally go into bed until I'm going to sleep, and then I just kind of like, this is such a gift, man. I get to go to sleep. God, I'm so thankful for. It's not exactly this, but some version of this. I'm so grateful. Like, I'm gonna sleep so well tonight. I'm gonna wake up with a new day. You got all this stuff that I'm thinking about, worried about, even the good things I'm thankful for and the other things, man, I'm going to get up and get another swing at it tomorrow, God. Yeah. Like, I'm so grateful. Like, this is going to be so good. I can't wait. And I people laugh at me, and then typically I'll put on some music, and my wife can't stand the music that I play, but I put it low, and then I set my timer, like it goes off in 10 minutes automatically, but I'm right to sleep. But that idea of being grateful. Because the truth is, we are living prayers that we prayed before. We want these other things, which is fine, but we don't want to ever get to a place where we're not really grateful, because here's the real truth. Whether I have it or I don't, God's still good.
So good.
Whether I won the thing today or I didn't, He's still faithful. Whether I got what I really wanted today or not, He's still for me and not against me. Like, there's still a God at work. And if I'm alive and living, then there's still something for me to do. There's still something for me to become. There's still something me to have, in life. So how did talk about, one of the things I talk about too with leaving your print is this idea in the book. I highlight some people who've just done some extraordinary things with their lives. Not all of them are like big dollar things. Some of them are, but it's just making the choice that says, I get to write. I am writing this story. I'm the star of this story. I mean, God is, but I am. It's me, my name. As I'm writing this story, as you're writing this story, there is a shift in people's lives, especially as you get older, where people start thinking about legacy, start thinking about significance. There was a book wrote Second Half. You remember Bob Buford? I don't know if you remember that book, but the point is, there is a shift where people start thinking, okay, yeah, maybe I achieved some level of success, or I've mastered this skill, or I've gotten some accomplishments in whatever area. But then you start thinking about, people that die, you see things that happen, you start knowing, okay, I don't know how many days I have left, but I'm one day closer today than I was yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I want my life to mean something. Like, I want to leave my print. I do want to do something. It's not about being famous. It's just about, like, I want to live a life of significance. Mm-hmm. Was there any shifts in your life where you started taking, like, even your platform or your resources, whatever, where you're like, hey, besides giving to my church stuff, like, I really want to give into something that's making the world better?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, and I mentioned her earlier, I have the most beautiful wife in the world, and I can't believe the Lord blessed me with her. To this day, 38 years later, I hope she doesn't figure out she's so much better than I am. And she's blessed me with 4 great kids, and I have 5 grandkids. So they were my ultimate initial, what do I want my legacy to be? And I care so much today, about when God takes me from the world, that they know how much I loved them. It's so important to me. But also, this sounds like a bragging about me moment. It's not.
No, I want you to talk about, because people need to know, and these are examples for other people, right? Because you weren't always this.
So I can remember going to the prom in high school, and I can remember praying that I had enough money to pay for the date.
Wow.
The dinner at the date. I mean, I'm sitting in a restaurant sweating and praying, and I go to I look at young people now that probably were in the same blessed situation I was when I was their age, and we do everything as if we can as a family now to pull people in and specifically people that might not have the same blessings that we have.
Right.
And yeah, just talk about how we have the blessings we have now. My kids didn't live the life I did.
Right.
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 And but they're I have one that's a pastor.
Yeah. I met her. She's amazing. Yeah.
So proud of her.
Yeah.
And then I got 3 other successful kids as well, equally successful. And the legacy question is, I would love to have my family know how much I love them, and I would love to bless as many people as we possibly can. My dad left this world with nothing, but he would have given everything. And I can't help but believe now that every time we're able to help somebody, that he's looking down just proud as heck.
Yeah, that's so cool. I think this is a great example of where I grow my life or where you want to grow has nothing to do really with where I came from or what I start with. It does have everything to do with what I do next. Yeah. And then again, my vision, what am I seeing? What do I think can happen? What do I want to get after? Yeah. Because it really doesn't matter whether you started with $1 million or whether you started with, hey, your start was, I'm going to go work for my family. I'm going to help support what I need to do. I'm going to take my role as a man seriously or son, and this is what we did. This is what families do. And you had no idea where it was going to lead. God did. You didn't know that one step of just sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice, doing that led you. My grandfather talked about this, it was funny. He was labor relations, and they were from the Panhandle, West Virginia. So between Steubenville, Ohio, and then part of West Virginia there, the river goes up. And so there's a little town called Follinsby, West Virginia was where he's from. My great-grandfather came from Italy. They settled there, but he was the first one to go to college. First one to, but they all worked. The older sons came first, but he was the first one to really have that opportunity. So he went to school and did all that, was in business and did consulting and stuff. So he had a chance to actually go work with Jimmy Hoffa group back in the day with their whole thing and labor stuff. And then my grandmother's dad fell ill, and there was all this stuff. So they decided they didn't take it just because he needed to be with family. Now, later when I talked about it, he's like, I'm really kind of glad I didn't take that because things ended badly for a lot of people. Which, by the way, did you do any research on where he's buried? Do we know anything? Do you know anything you want to share here on the show?
Somewhere out of home in one of my old neighborhoods, I think so.
It's so funny. I know I'm getting older because I literally said to somebody recently, I said, yeah, I know where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. Maybe they know. They're like, who? I'm like, Jimmy Hoffa. They're like, who's that? I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Would you live under a rock? I'm like, how old are you? They're like, I've never heard of this person. I'm like, all right, go back and Google it. But we don't know where he's buried. But the point of saying that was like my grandfather didn't know. Like, he thought it was a great opportunity. It was a big deal. Turned out it was actually a better deal to do. Priority was family, make that shift, and then go on. And sometimes making that next step is hard. We don't always have this big yes. We don't always have this big green light. We don't always have. I get asked this a lot. Like, how do I know if this is the right decision or not? And that is real life. I mean, there's one thing I lean on too. I'm like, if it's really the wrong one, I feel like God has a way of telling us. Now, we can ignore those signs, but he has a way of letting us know. And there are things like, what's my gifts, my talents, where am I wired? What are some of the dreams? I also like to go through when you're going through something in your life or shifts, what have you been praying the last 6 months to a year? Because sometimes when you look at that string, you're looking at today and it's maybe even frustrating, but maybe that breakup was like, oh God, but show me if this is the right thing or not. Okay, This job, like I know I need to move. I need to move on to something. And then all of a sudden there's troubled waters. Well, that's what helps you to move, right? And so, making decisions can be hard. And building a legacy is important because, you got handed what you got handed, but you do with what. And it's, it's godly to take whatever talents, whatever he's given. If they picture this table, that's what he's given you. I say this a lot. Whatever God's given you, there's an expectation that we're going to grow it. If it gives you, like, as a relationship, you should grow it and be better. It's not about being perfect, about being like, I'm supposed to be better. I should be a great dad. Why should I be settled for, like, I can just father a child? No, there's an expectation that you can learn and figure it out. You may not know everything, but everybody can learn. And it's like in every stage of my life, there's something that God's given me to do, and there's a mission. And I need to be about the more I could be about that mission and understand, because how I show up to something, how I view it is how I treat it. So if I see my job and career and building a business, so I work with a lot of high level people that are really doing well, but how I view that matters. It doesn't mean I got to go and give all my money away to the poor. No, I mean, God's most of the time not asking people to do that. What he is saying is that, hey, this portion is seed. You know what's funny about seed? Some of the seed God's given you to plant for your future. So you have food for you and your family. Some of the seed is meant to give away for somebody else so that they can do that. Some of the seed is meant to give to a cause, or our church. All those things are important, but we're never meant to hold it all. I heard somebody explain it this way. They said it's like the seed of a plum or a peach. It's there, but you're not meant to eat it. You can eat it if you want, but it's not going to be very satisfying. It's meant to be planted. So when you think about causes, is there any other causes that you are passionate about?
Yeah, actually, and because I want to go back to the seed, and I know you prefaced this with you weren't leading to this at all, and you weren't. But I would say, from the day I got married, and probably the first 25 years of my life, every time I went to God, it was an ask. And it was, hey, Lord, I need your help here. Hey, Lord, whether it be an ask for the next position or I was always talking to the Lord with an ask, and He's answered prayer. Now every time I go to the Lord, I'm very consistent with the start of my prayers, and it's a thank you. Hey, Lord, thank you for my life. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for my kids. Thank you for my grandkids. Thank you for our beautiful Hannah, our son-in-laws Tyler, Ryan, and Jack. So I'm very consistent in my prayer because I'm thankful, and it goes back to what we're kind of talking about with the seed, Pastor Todd. And I mean this. This is not for the benefit of a podcast. I've been a tither, and I have been rewarded more than I ever thought I would, be rewarded. Being a kid from Gary, Indiana, every dollar I've given to the church and every dollar I've given to a strong cause has paid me back tenfold. And it's not just paid me back in dollars tenfold, it's paid me back in happiness and gratitude.
That's so good.
Tenfold.
I hope you guys are hearing that. It's true.
So genuine.
Yes.
Pastor Todd, it's so genuine. I can't thank the Lord Jesus enough.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Giving's a principle, right? So if I follow principles, I'm going to get the results of those principles, right? Mathematics has principles. If I go 1 to 1, I'm going to get 2, right? If I plant tomato seeds, I'm going to get tomatoes. I might want peppers. That's never going to happen. If I plant certain things, but principles always stand true. You can say, well, I don't believe in these principles. I said on one of my other podcasts, I was saying how, well, you might say you don't believe in gravity, but if you jump off a building, you realize that's a principle. That's what happens.
Yes.
And so I encourage you guys, and I do that in some of my talks start somewhere. If you've never done that before, maybe some people have never given, or maybe they're not even part of a church. I'm telling you, the principle of giving works. It's an honoring, and it's not magic. And I don't do it. And I know you didn't do this. We don't do it because we're like, oh, I'm going to put this in. I hope I get this. God's not running a casino, but He is operating under principles. And the principles are like, these are I don't want to hold on to anything that God doesn't want me to hold on to in general. But that principle of giving, and the other thing is that when you think about the world and the needs in the world, we have enough money to meet. We don't need the government to step in and meet the world. Not to get political, but we don't. We need them for certain things, but we don't.
Agree.
We really don't. There's plenty of money here, and it's not just a certain amount of people that just need to not be greedy. It's really everybody that does their fair share. My dad used to put on our offering envelopes when he was pastoring, and we had it when I took the church over. It's not equal giving; it's equal sacrifice. I'm gonna be able to give what you give or what somebody else, but I can still sacrifice at a certain level. That's the requirement. And what if maybe God put you here? So some of you watching, what if He put you here, and your print is not only meant to give, but you're meant to grow that seed so that it can actually impact somebody else's life, maybe hundreds of lives, maybe thousands of lives, and not even about having a great big Instagram profile or whatever, but like, how cool would it be is that you get to heaven and somebody's like, hey, you don't know my name, but what you gave, that was for me and my family. My mom was that single mom. My mom was that one, or that, I was that kid that was after school and I didn't have somebody to help. There's a lot of different things that we can do, but you need a cause in life. And you're not responsible. We're not God. We're not meant to solve everything, but we are meant to solve something. And so it's a great point. And even I would even say this real quick would be, as you're praying, when Jesus said this, he said, follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. So one of my prayers as I've gotten older has been like this: hey, Father, like, Lord, it is good. We should make our request known to God. Like, hey, God, I need these. But part of it is also, God, make me. God, make me the man, make me the person, so that I can hold and carry and push and be a pass-through for whatever it is you want to happen in this world. God, you make me. If you don't do it, it's not going to really, I can't do that myself. But some of my prayers have shifted to that in alignment with what you're saying. Because I can guarantee you start shifting your prayers, you start shifting your life. You shift your prayers, you're shifting your focus. You start shifting some of your desires. You start shifting, because when you start looking for something, you see it. I remember how I said how you show up for something is how you treat it. If I see my job and my company as just, man, it's just an aggravation and this is a problem and these people are crazy. Like, I'm in this dark place. Yeah, well, maybe God, the light shines brightest in dark places. Maybe God sent you there. If I see myself as sent, if I see myself, woke up this morning, I've been sent here. When I show up, I have the Holy Spirit with me. I'm supposed to be a problem. So I'm supposed to be here, and I'm supposed to be adding value. That's, if people see that, all of a sudden, it changes a little bit of the dynamic.
I couldn't agree more. I going back to the days where where I was praying every day for God to pull me out, right? And you'd sit in church on Sunday and you'd put $5 in a plate, and that was the 10% at the time.
Right. Yeah.
What I'm really trying to say is, for the people that are struggling, I had to make a conscious decision whether $5 was going to buy 5 packs of hot dogs or 10 packs of ramen, or it was going in the plate. And I'm so thankful it went in the plate.
So it's circle back a little bit. I have a funny Acme moment. Just thought about this. So we were like paycheck to paycheck, right? And I'm waiting. I'm not working at Acme at the time, but we had an Acme down the street. Now, this is going way back. And so I didn't get paid till Friday. And it was like Wednesday, Thursday. And I'm like, I need money for gas. We need some extra stuff to store. Well, back then, some of you don't remember, there's these things called checks. Yeah. So I could write a check and they would be like, how much more do you want? They would give you up to $30 on the check. So I could write it on Thursday. It's not going to get deposited till Friday.
Yep.
And then I would have my money put in the bank and it would cover me. There was a couple times where it was like, I went in, I bought something, got my extra.
100%.
And that literally carried me. It was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like, you just barely get me by.
Yep.
And then you got paid. And again, those are crazy moments, but they're good moments. And again, they don't need to last always. Let me ask you a question. So you've done all this stuff. What's your most exciting project right now? What's making money? Like what are you in right now?
So we have a specialty company that we bought for a very good price, and we'll probably develop that company and develop about 300 people in that company as well, and it's a wonderful project that'll reward a lot of people.
Right. Does it make money?
It makes good money.
I know you don't want to say the industry. It's not illegal, so don't get nervous.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
That's good. So here's the thing. If you had to do another role, God's like, okay, here we go, Ken. Let you could pick a role, something you want to do, but nothing you've done before. It's just for fun or whatever. Like, and you'll be able to do it well. What career path would you want to pick if God's like, you can go do anything? What would you want to be?
Pastor Todd, I think you're magnetic, and I said that before we started. And I think that your ability to talk to people is really, really good. I love talking to people genuinely. I love talking to people about how there is nobody that can't help themselves through Christ.
Right.
And so, I mean, I love telling people kind of, how I've got to where I'm at, because it's truthful. It's, number one is Jesus. Number two, it's my beautiful bride. Number three, it's the drive of my kids and my grandkids. Throw a little hard work on top of that. And I believe it's just a real good recipe.
So, but what would you want to do?
I would tell.
differently.
I would tell. I
Just
would
be
try
able to be
teach
somebody
people
like
how
an
to do-
evangelist or somebody, just be a
Yeah.
spokesman for the Lord, like an effective spokesman for the Lord.
Yeah, but I could never be you. I mean,
Of course not. We have different fingerprints. Yeah, I don't have the IQ that you have. You don't want to take a step
That's
down,
not
man.
true.
Come on, man. You don't want to
That's
go
not
down.
true.
You.
I could never be
No,
you
but yeah.
because
No, but-
I think that I would just love to help people find God and find success and find prosperity with being able to buy them a beer at the same time.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. So let me ask you this. We're going to wrap it up here. If your life was a soundtrack, are you a music fan?
I'm very much, yeah.
Yeah? Who's some of your favorite artists that you like?
Zapp and Roger,
Okay.
Prince.
Yeah, you're going back. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an old
Those are
guy,
good
so-
ones. Okay. So if at the end of your life it was a soundtrack, right? And we were listening to it. What would be, now I know it's love of God and the love of your family. I got that because you said it. What would be some other takeaways that you would want to be as part of that soundtrack?
Work your way through and out of pain. So hard work and it took me, I would have changed my discipline level quicker. So my soundtrack would be, everything you said, and then you could overcoming. I guess overcoming.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at where I'm at 60 years old.
Yeah. Do you think what would you? That's a good thought, because where you start, like what would you go back and say to your 17-year-old self if you could?
You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And some of the things you're thinking about right now, do it. I thought about God at 17, and I thought I'd find the woman of my dreams at 17, and I found the woman of my dreams at 23, and she brought me closer to God. You're going to be okay.
That's good. That's good. And lastly, if you could FaceTime somebody. God said, "Hey, we're going to FaceTime heaven." Who would you want to FaceTime, and what would you want to say?
My father, and I'm okay.
That's good. Man, I don't know your dad, but I know he's smiling down. I don't know how it all works in heaven, but I know he's smiling down. I know he's super proud. And the impact that you've made, I know we only got to touch on a little bit today, but man, I'm so thankful. It was such a great time to meet you. That barbecue thing, neighbor thing. Chris, thank you for connecting us. But
Love you, Chris.
Man, dude, I love what you've done. And
Thank you, Pastor
it's cool
Scott.
to see. Thank you for being here, sharing. Hopefully you guys picked up some inspiration from today. Looking forward to hearing how these other companies perform. And if you ever have anything that can make money for small guys like me, man, keep me in the loop, bro. Text me. Just let me know. But it's been a pleasure and honor having you here today, man. God bless you, your
Thank you.
family, all you're doing. May you continue to just keep rocking it for the Lord.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's a wrap. We'll see you next time.